Yes, anyone? Anything from the previous session? Rinku Mataji? Rinka Mataji?
Yes, one who understands Bhagavad Gita is free from all reactions of work and conquers all riches because he has no doubts at all.
Okay. Yeah, in the end, Krishna is saying, kill all the doubts with the weapon of knowledge. Yes. Okay. Is that Priyanka Mataji? You're saying I won't be able to attend next class. I have Bhakti Shastri. No, Acha, Priya Rani Mataji. Sorry. Bhakti Shastri final exams. Okay. And yes, anyone else? Any other things from the previous class? Priyanka Mataji, Subramaniam Prabhu.
Prabhuji, we spoke about choosing a spiritual master who will lead us to the right path, in attaining Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Anything else? How to approach that spiritual master?
Through Guru.
Guru is spiritual master. How do we approach him?
No, how to approach spiritual master through Guru. No, Guru only leads to the right path. That way.
Spiritual master is the English term for Guru.
Okay. Then yes. Then sufficient knowledge is missing. So we are in illusion.
Yes, that was one more point. Yes. For the want of sufficient knowledge, we are in illusion. Yes.
Then we have to serve Vaishnavas. Then Lord will be happy.
Perfect. Yes. So how we approach a spiritual master? Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya ubadikshanti te jnanam jnanena statvadarshina. So we approach a spiritual master, with a mood of serving him, very humbly and asking questions, in a submissive manner, right? In this way, the spiritual master will reveal the knowledge to us because he is Tattvadarshi, he is seen the truth. Hare Krishna, welcome Preeti.
Yeah, hi Vijay, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good to see you again. So we were discussing what we kind of covered in the last class. Yes, any other points?
Yeah, Prabhuji, one point that we are currently serving Maya and ideally we should be serving Krishna.
Yes.
Then,
Abhishek Prabhu, anything from your side? Any points?
We should work in devotional service and in Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Yes.
and chanting is the most simple and
Yes.
sublime method.
Chanting is very, very sublime. Correct. Bal Mukunda Prabhu, anything from the previous class? Okay. Fine. So let's start with the. Yes, Prabhuji, you're saying something? Okay. Make Karthik Prabhu the co-host. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. So this is chapter 4. So just to give you a quick overview of what we did in chapter 4, rather actually to start with chapter 5, let's take a quick look at chapter 3 and 4 together. Okay, let me share my screen, other screen, just a second. Yes. Can you see this? So this is chapter 3. This is the overview of chapter 3. So second chapter is summary of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explained, all the different concepts, right? Arjuna was perplexed and Krishna started speaking and he explained so many different concepts. He gave him Atma Gyan. He spoke about, doing activity as a matter of, for actually he'll gain pleasure by performing his duty and not vice versa. And he should actually then act in Nishkam Karma Yoga, and then he went on to explain different things. So basically addressed all the questions Arjuna had asked right in the second chapter. But then Arjuna had a doubt, right? Because in the second chapter, Krishna spoke about renunciation, but in the end of the second chapter, he asked him to fight. So Arjuna's confusion was, what is better, renunciation or action? So then Krishna goes on to explain Nishkam Karma Yoga is better for Arjuna than Jnana Yoga, right? Because he glorified Jnana and renunciation, so therefore the confusion happened. So he's saying Nishkam Karma Yoga is better for Arjuna than Jnana Yoga. Then he says, then he described how, the process of elevation from Karma Kand to Karma Yoga. Then he requested Arjuna that even though, there is nothing for him to perform because he is liberated, or Krishna himself, there is no duty for him to perform. But still he performs just to set the right example. And he also gave the example of Janak Maharaj, how he also is attained perfection by performing duties, although he never needed to perform because he was already on the liberated platform. But still, to set an example for general people, he did. And then, what are the impediments in performing, Nishkam Karma Yoga? So control of the senses is extremely important. And the biggest thing, which is an impediment, Nishkama, Kamna, right? Lust. So he then describes lust being the greatest enemy. Arjuna inquired, why are we forced into doing action? So, which we don't want to do and which we regret later. So Krishna explained that it's lust who is the greatest enemy. And then he goes on to describe where the lust is situated, etc., and how we can, through transcendental knowledge and spiritual intelligence, we can, make the mind steady and conquer the lust. So then he goes on to explain in the fourth chapter what is that transcendental knowledge or spiritual intelligence through which we can conquer lust. Just a second. Then in the fourth chapter, Krishna begins with talking about, first of all, where this knowledge is coming from. And then he goes on to describe how people, Arjuna, he's not the first recipient of this knowledge, but he gave this knowledge to Sun God first. And then, the knowledge has been coming down in Parampara. So Arjuna inquired, how can you give it to Sun God, right? He's, so senior to you. So then Krishna describes how, he was there, Arjuna was there, but Arjuna doesn't remember, but he remembers all the previous, appearances of Krishna and of course births of Krishna, births of Arjuna, like that. So then Krishna talks about his divine nature and of his appearance and activities. And one who understands his divine nature, right? Result is he begins to love Krishna. One who understands the nature of Krishna's appearance and pastimes, right? He actually becomes liberated. So then Krishna, he's actually the creator, and all paths actually culminate towards Krishna. But Krishna then describes how different people are trying to worship different demigods, and how Krishna only has created the four varnas, four ashramas, like that. And people are kind of busy there, and they are bound by the reactions of whatever activities they do within the four varnas. And how Krishna, although he described that he's also practicing, prescribed duties, but that work doesn't affect him. And liberated souls, they understand Krishna as such that he is not bound by any reactions of work, and they're liberated, right? Then he goes on to describe, karma, akarma, vikarma, etc. He starts describing how to see action in action, etc. And to the point of detached work, right? Again, he describes detached work. And then he starts talking about attaining jnana. So up till this point, he said detached work. And here he starts talking about jnana. Through sacrifice and through nishkam karma yoga, it leads to jnana, right? So all of these nishkam karma yoga, etc., is leading to knowledge. And then he goes on to describe methods and results and glories of attaining that knowledge. So now, again, Krishna has glorified Gyan. So Arjuna's understanding of Gyan is, oh, I have to focus on, studying scriptures, I have to attain knowledge and, renounce, right? So that's where the 5th chapter starts from. So the 5th chapter basically, Krishna in the end also he's glorifying at the end of the 4th chapter, the results of attaining jnana. And he's again imploring Arjuna to fight. He glorified jnana, and in the last word of the shloka, he said, fight, right? So again, Arjuna is confused. And again, he's confused for us, right? Not that, he's in doubt, but he's confused so that we can understand. We go to the 5th chapter. So this is called, titled as Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So repeat after me. Arjuna Vacha.
Arjuna Vacha.
Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna.
Sannyasam Karmanam Krishnam.
Punar Yogam Cha Samshashi.
Punar Yogam Chan Shansasi.
Yat Shreyani Tayorekam. Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam.
Tanme Bruhi Sunishchatam.
Can someone read the translation, please?
Arjun said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of two is more beneficial?
So Arjuna is saying, wait, you described, how work, renunciation is, how work is great, work and devotion is great. Then again, you talk about renunciation, and now again, you're asking me to fight. So tell me definitely, right, which one is more beneficial of the two. So Prabhupada describes in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, work in devotional service is better than the dry mental speculation. So this chapter, Krishna will, establish completely without any doubt that how devotional service is better than dry mental speculation or just some simple jnana. So therefore, this chapter is also titled Action in Krishna Consciousness. Right? So work in devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotional service is easier than the latter because being transcendental in nature, it's free. It frees one from reactions. So Arjuna's confusion is, oh, I should not work because that will cause bondage and reaction, and I should attain jnana, and which means renounce, so that I don't fall into the cycle of karma again. But then Krishna's proposing work without, Krishna's proposing transcendental activities or working but in devotional service. So which does not generate any reaction and which is equal to inaction. So this is the confusion for Arjuna. Arjuna is not able to understand that work in devotion doesn't generate any reactions and is equivalent to inaction, like that. But he's thinking inaction means I have to renounce work. So in the 2nd chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by buddhi yoga or devotional service was explained therein. In the 3rd chapter, it was explained that the person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And in the 4th chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate into knowledge. However, at the end of 4th chapter, Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves a cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyas or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity, because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. Okay, second one. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sannyasah Karma Yogascha
Karma yogascha
Shreyas Karavabhav
Nishreyasa karavabhav
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat
Tayo sadhus karma sannyasat
Karma Yoga Vishishyate.
karma yogo vishishyate.
Okay, someone can read the translation, please.
The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work.
Yes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied that renunciation of work and work in devotion both are good for liberation. You can attain him through both parts, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. Right? So, okay, when we actually start, let's look at it from a practical lens. When we start our Krishna consciousness, right, in the beginning, when we are not very mature in understanding, we've not read all the scriptures, we've not understood much. So this confusion is very, very typical, where somebody thinks, oh, I'm in Krishna consciousness, I don't have to do much, right? Everything will happen, it's all in God's hand, right? Whereas the karmis, they think, oh, everything is in my hand, right? I have to do everything. Unless and until I do anything, nothing will happen. I am the cause of the results which I am getting. So my effort is equal to the result. My result is equivalent to the effort I put in. So he's negating all the other factors, and the biggest factor of sanction of Paramatma, and that the results is not in his hand. It's still the Lord or the demigods decide what results to give him, etc. basis his past karma, like that. So he's thinking, if I put in this amount of effort, I get exactly this amount of result. But that's not a short thing. Sometimes it may happen, sometimes may not happen. Sometimes you experience that with a little effort there is tremendous result, and sometimes you put so much of hard work, but results are not as expected, or it's very underwhelming results, or negative results also sometimes, right? You wanted to do something positive, but something opposite happened. Anyone experience this, or is it just me? Please.
Yes, Prabhu.
Very often.
Very often.
So the karmis, they think that everything is proportionate to my effort, right? Whereas the pitfall on the other end, other extreme is, oh, everything will happen. Karma mein likh diya hai na, bas, I don't have to do anything. Lazy, right? And sometimes devotees, we are even for practicing devotees, sometimes although we are not really sitting at the extremes at all times, but we have to be in between. Actually, that's the right path, wherein we understand that we have to put effort, not that we become lazy. At the same time, we have to depend on the Lord's mercy for the results, right? Karmanye vadika. You have the right to perform the duty, but the results are not in your hand, right? So the devotee understands this. So he has to sit right in the middle. But sometimes what happens is we tend to lean either on one side more, or we also sometimes tend to lean on the other side. Especially in the beginning, we tend to, be in a quote unquote transcendental zone where we feel, oh, we are invincible. And of course, in the beginning, it happens that, Krishna is reciprocating. So, you feel, "Arey, ye to bahut naya hai, this knowledge is extremely amazing, etc." And which is amazing, not that it's not. But we kind of get into a tendency that, oh, I have to, give up everything. I have to, like we get questions. So Prabhuji, should I give up everything and come to temple and join there? Or, I'm not liking my work. What should I do? Should I give up my work? People are actually frustrated from, whatever they're doing. And this becomes like an escape route for them. Again, early stages, immature stage, or not deeply studying scriptures. This is the first idea that comes to a lot of people, right? That, oh, I am doing my work, but, how can I escape this? It's called, and especially a lot of devotees are in this zone. Even I will talk about my own self, right? So devotional service, right in the beginning, it gives a result called Kleshagni. Kleshagni means as soon as you perform some devotional service, pure devotional service, even little bit of practice will give you Kleshagni. Kleshagni means freedom from the burning of the forest fire of material existence, which means that we have a lot of suffering, right? We have a lot of anxieties, a lot of stress. Once you perform devotional service, even a little bit, right? One kirtan can literally pull you out from that forest fire and give you relief, right? So we are in this zone where we are, experiencing burning and then relief, burning and then relief. We are not going beyond relief, right? We are getting relief, like, thank God. And then, when we are doing the devotional service, again, Maya is giving its own allurements. Oh, let me watch this movie, or let me, eat with onion garlic. Kya hota hai? So we tend to again play around with Maya. We don't progress. We don't progress from after relief. There are several other stages, right? There is Kleshagni, there is Shubhada, there's so many others, going to Moksha Labhurta Krita, Sandharanda Visheshatma, Shri Kṛṣṇa Karshani, like that. So there are several stages wherein, it begins with relief from the, burnings of the material sufferings, right? Then it is all auspicious. So your life becomes all auspicious, right? Further stages are, I'm missing out one or two, but further stages are, you get to a level where even liberation seems very small. And, Sri Kṛṣṇa Karshani, ultimate result, the fifth or sixth stages, Krishna is attracted by a devotional service. So performing pure devotional service actually leads you to this path. But our tendency is that we perform a little bit, immediate relief is we get, and then again we fall back. Areha, let me enjoy again. We are stuck here, right? So therefore, we tend to, this also we tend to kind of think, it's an escape route. Let me not work, or let me run away from my responsibility. So Krishna consciousness is not an escape route for you to run away from your responsibilities. Like we just heard the Lord in the previous chapters that he is himself performing prescribed duties. Even Janak Maharaj is performing prescribed duties. They're liberated. Janak Maharaj is liberated, and Krishna, of course, he doesn't. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He doesn't. There's no work in the three worlds for him, but he performs to set an example. So it's not a escape route. Especially, what to talk of ourselves? We are not even liberated, right? So definitely, we have to perform our work to maintain ourselves. So let's see what Prabhupada is describing. Fruitive activities, which means seeking sense gratification, are cause of material bondage. Prabhuji, you want to read? I'm not able to speak. I'll just drink some water. You want to just take over for a bit?
Purport. Fruitive activities seeking sense gratification are cause for material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of what their activities are aimed at, which is trying to improve the bodily comfort, the standard of bodily comfort. So why are we working very hard? Because we want to improve the standard of bodily comfort. So if our activities are with that intention, then it says here one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. Should we read further?
Yes, but we can finish this purport.
Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this as follows. Nunam pramata kurate vikarma yadindriya prite apranoti asadu manye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeva parabhavastavad jato yavan jigyasata atmatattvam yavat kriyastavalidam manovai karmatmatam yena sharira bandha evam mana karma vasham prayukte avidyatmanya apidhiyamane pritirna yavan mai vasudeve namuchyate deha yogena tavat. People are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results or for sense gratification. And as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence.
Okay, so Prabhupada is describing how fruitive activities basically are the cause for material bondage, and failure to understand that actually at the end of the day, unless and until we surrender to the Lord or understand ourselves, our real identity, there's no getting out of this cycle of birth and death, right? It'll just perpetually keep us in the cycle of birth and death, and we'll be under the influence of ignorance and passion. So the real thing is to cultivate, or the purpose of the life is to cultivate devotion service to Vasudeva. So yes, therefore jnana or knowledge that one is not this material body but spirit soul is not sufficient for liberation. So simply understanding that you're not this body but soul, okay, fine, what do I do with that, right? You have this information, but what to do about it, right? So one has to act in the status of spirit soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. The same thing which I was talking, as devotees, we realize sometimes, some good class, we understand the importance. We try to practice a little bit. And then again, we fall back, trying to enjoy the material senses, right? And we stop acting in Krishna consciousness, or, we reduce our activities. Knowledge hai, it's just like, somebody who's walking on the road, and you tell him, "Arey, there is a truck coming behind, move." But this person says, "Yes, I know there is a truck coming." But what is the use of his knowledge unless and until he acts on it and moves out of the road or away from the middle of the road? Otherwise, he'll be run over by the truck. And that is what is happening to us. That for our situation is, for some time we realize and move out, and a truck is still coming, and we get back. We move out, we get back. So we are playing this game. We're playing with Maya, right? We are playing with snakes. Our senses are described as snakes. So we want to play around like that. Accident can happen. So yeah, therefore jnana or knowledge that one is not material body is not sufficient, right? One has to act in the status of spirit soul, otherwise there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action on fruitive platform. So Krishna Prabhupada is describing there are two distinct things. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruitive activities does not actually purify the heart of the conditioned soul. So one may perform Nishkam Karma Yoga on the level of simple renunciation. Okay, I don't want the fruits. I want to be a great personality. I am very, very spiritually advanced. I am giving big charities or I'm doing things, but I am not interested in the fruits. That is also one stage, but just being there won't help you advance, won't purify the heart completely, right? But actually performing activities for Krishna will purify the heart immediately. So that's the difference between mere renunciation versus actively doing things for the Lord. One is going from negative to zero, right? Renouncing fruits. Okay, I don't care about fruits. So negative to zero. But then there is positive also, 0 to 100 million, whatever. That is acting in Krishna consciousness, performing practical devotional service. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruitive actions, so that one need not descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete, as is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Prapanchikataya buddhaya hari sambandhini vastunaha mumukshubhi parityago vairagyam falgu kathayate. When a person engages, when person eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete, right? So this is somebody who is just simply neti renouncing, right? So he may even renounce some things which are favorable to Krishna consciousness, right? Oh, this bead bag is material. I don't have to do anything with material things. Mala is also material. I don't want, right? Eating prasadam is material. I don't want, right? So thinking like this, he may renounce things which are favorable also, and such a renunciation is called incomplete. Money, somebody who's actually Krishna conscious knows how to utilize money in Krishna service. He'll say, no, the Falgu Vairagi, or somebody who's actually artificially renounced, he'll say, no, I don't touch money. Right? That is just to make a show. Right? He'll do that. So renunciation is complete when it is in knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord. No one should claim proprietorship over anything. Everything belongs to Krishna. So if I use that in Krishna's service, that is the right use of something. Right? Versus just saying, no, I'm not going to use it. Fine. Okay. It doesn't belong to you. You don't use it. Okay. That is one level. But if I know whom it belongs to, and if I use the item in his service, that is perfection, right? So one should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? So what is your renunciation? It doesn't belong to you in any case, right? Even the body doesn't belong to you. So where is the question of renunciation? One who knows that everything is Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in service of Krishna. This perfect form of action in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by a sannyasi or of a Mayavadi school. Is this clear? This is called the principle of Yukta Vairagya. It is given by Rupa Goswami. Yukta Vairagya means renunciation with understanding or knowledge or in Krishna consciousness. So renunciation in Krishna consciousness is called Yukta Vairagya. Like devotees, they don't eat meat because you cannot offer meat to Krishna. The fruits, vegetables, all these things we can offer to Krishna. It belongs to Krishna only. Just like a small, I gave this example earlier, was just like a small child, right? Father is getting all the money, mother is preparing the food. So actually nothing belongs to the child. And he's given a plate to eat. But from that plate, if he picks up a morsel and offers it to his father, the father feels so much happiness, right? And he's enthused, or he's inspired to do more and more for the child, right? So that's showcasing love, and then that's the process of starting with karma yoga, converting into action in Krishna consciousness. Actually, Prabhu, you want to add something?
No, Prabhuji, just I was recollecting example that you very often give. Sometimes, I think one example of Srila Prabhupada you gave, that he was passing by and he said that I renounced this, bungalow or car. So one may say like that, passing by on the street, I renounced this Mercedes. Anyway, it doesn't belong to you. So it's foolish to just say that, I renounce, anyway, it doesn't belong to us. So practically everything in this world doesn't belong to us. We just come for like 60, 70 years, claim proprietorship over our house, our wealth, or whatever different assets may be there, and then leave. And the things remain here only while we pass on. So,
and this is a big pitfall. Even sometimes devotees saying, "Oh, look how austere I am, how renounced I am." Right? If you're thinking like this, your fall down has started. You're not able to renounce your ego, false ego, right? So one has to be extremely careful, right? People, they renounce things to make a show of things as well, and it's not just others, ourselves also, right? And we need to introspect and see, am I doing something like this? Am I? Yes, Prabhuji?
I just think Srila Prabhupada would say that you bring all the money to me. We'll use it all in Krishna's service.
Yes.
People of like the Mayavadi school, Prabhupada says here that let's say we do not touch money, or anything. Prabhupada would say that bring everything to me. We'll use all Lakshmi in Krishna's service. So devotee is in that sense, he knows that everything is in connection to Krishna and therefore should be used in his service. Not for one's own sake. Prabhupada did not make so many temples for his own sake, but it was made for devotees. He said that for himself, he could live under a tree and preach, but then who would come? So just for the sake of the common masses, because they will come in a big temple and be attracted. He built so many temples.
Yeah, Prabhupada would also, I was just remembering one lecture I was hearing. It was a morning walk. Prabhupada was in the garden, and he's talking to his disciples that, see, this garden, they are spending so much money, they are spending so much effort to create this garden, right? They're working like asses and donkeys in offices, etc., and paying taxes to the government, and the government is building these things, but you see practically no one in the garden. And we are able to enjoy this facility and use it in Krishna's service. So they would actually go out and perform Sankirtan, etc. And Prabhupada would also go on his morning walks with his disciples. So he let them build thicker, but Krishna's devotees are intelligent. They are able to use. Others, they are not even able to. They're paying money for this, but they're not able to utilize it. So what is the use of so much of hard work? They're continuing in their own existence, working hard, like Prabhupada earlier describing fruitive work. So actually the result is not that even it's a false idea of happiness. Oh, I will get happiness. Actually, you actually don't get to enjoy. Right? It's a false idea. Even materially speaking, you don't get to enjoy. It's actually coming out of your money only, taxpayers' dollars or right rupees. But still, you're not able to spend that time. You're working hard day and night to earn, to live a happy life, but you're not even able to go out in the evening or in the morning to a garden and spend some time, peaceful time there. It's rare, right? Once in a week, it's a good, it's a blessing. It's not every day people can do it. Okay. Gneyasa nitya sannyasi
Yasa nitya sannyasi
yona dveshti na kankshati
Vestina Kamsati
nirdvandvo hi mahabaho
Nirdvandvo hi Mahava
Mahabaho
sukham bandhat pramuchyate.
Sukham
bandhat pramuchyate.
Can someone read the translation?
Yeah, I will read, Prabhuji. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty armed Arjuna. Yeah.
Very, very important. So here it's described one who neither hates nor desires fruits of their activities is known always to be renounced, right? So hate and attachment, right, is two sides of the same coin. Someone may say, oh, no, women are Maya, right? And he may fan so much hatred in his heart for women, right? Similarly, some women may say, oh, men is Maya. And it's true. For women, men is Maya. For man, woman is Maya. But it doesn't mean that you have to hate them, right? So attachment and hatred is two sides of the same coin. If you're hating something, I don't want to see their faces, right? So there's, in fact, Prabhupada, I think it was LA temple or which temple. So once Prabhupada, he actually walked into the temple in 7 a.m. in the morning, and for darshan arati, and the temple opened, and then suddenly looked around. All the devotees were there, sannyasis were there. There's not even a single Mataji there. So Prabhupada said, what is this? Where are all the ladies? So, the temple, I think, which temple? I'm not LA, maybe some other temple. So the temple president had actually requested all the Matajis not to come. So Prabhupada turned around and he said, you should, if you cannot control this much, then you should go out. Right? Let the Matajis come in. So this is, and some people become a little fanatic, right? Oh, this is bad, this is Maya, we should not, so we need not get into that extreme zone of fanaticism. That's the idea. So one has to be indifferent, neither have hate nor have attachment, indifference, right? So one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities, right? Okay, fine, you're not desiring fruits, doesn't mean you start hating them, right? So one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person is free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage, and is completely liberated. O mighty armed Arjuna, right? So let's see what Prabhupada describes. One who is fully in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire for the results of his action. But it doesn't affect him at all. His focus is somewhere else. He's fixed on the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa. He has hundreds of things to do for the service of the Lord. ठीक है, यहाँ पे result आया नहीं आया, it's okay. Right? And this you would have experienced also, even materially speaking. If you are really fixated on something, right, some event, you want something very badly, other things around may happen, may not happen, you're not bothered. You don't feel the pinch, or you don't feel, super elated, but because you're fixated somewhere else. Anyone experience this? Anybody? No one?
I want to say,
Yes, yes.
you said no attachment, no hatred. Hatred, it's okay. Being a devotee, you can control that feeling. But attachment is very natural feeling. One is attached to family, their own child, and many things. It's difficult to come out from this.
Right. So वो story सुना है ना, अंगूर खट्टे हो गए. Right? So मिला तो I'm attached, नहीं मिला तो अंगूर खट्टे. Right? You hate them like अंगूर is बकवास. Right? Who will waste time? Right? One becomes grumpy like that. So that is the sign of attachment only. It's false renunciation. कि हाँ अंगूर तो खट्टे मुझे नहीं चाहिए. Right? This is very bad, unnecessary. You also should not eat. They'll start saying things like that, right? And it'll turn into hatred, right? So one should neither have hatred nor he should have attachment, right? So you see a position of a devotee, right? Especially right these days, right? Somebody may say, "Arey, how can you renounce? No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. ये नहीं करेंगे तो क्या करेंगे?" Right? So it's not that the devotees, they were born devotees, right? People right now, many of us, trying to practice these four regulative principles. Not that we were practicing it from our very birth. We have experienced some of these things. Like I was personally a meat eater earlier, right? I left it. So nobody can say that, तुमको तो पता ही नहीं क्या होता. पता है, खा के देखा है, right? And consciously decided to give it up. Right? Not that I'm promoting that everyone should go through the experience. Intelligent people learn from hearing, right? Less intelligent people like me, they experience and then learn, right? So it's not that we are saying कि नहीं ये तो बुरा है just because अंगूर खट्टे हैं. No. Here we are saying because it's scriptural injunction and it's poisonous. But what we are talking about is being fanatic, right? Prabhupada, when he actually went to the West, initially he had to spend his days in Butler, Pennsylvania, in the house of Mr. Agarwal, right? And his wife Sally. They were, they were the ones who actually, provided some place for Prabhupada to live, because when he got down from Boston at the Boston Harbor, he did not know where to go. And previously in Mathura, there was this Agarwalji who said, my son, he used to give out, invitation letters to people just like that, thinking that no one will ever go to US, right? People keep asking, and he would just, just to oblige them, he would just make an invitation. He would call his son and say, send the invitation, and he would give the invitation, knowing very well that no one will go. But Prabhupada went, right? On that invitation, he went, and he then spent some time in this household, where in the same fridge there was meat kept there, and Prabhupada, he had just some vegetables he would cook. He had a separate cooker, right? And he would store some of those vegetables in that same fridge. But that did not drive Prabhupada to, hate these people, right? Although they were meat eaters, Prabhupada did not behave badly with them. Prabhupada never said, no, you're rascals, you're fools, I'm going away from here. Or he did not speak badly to them. Rather, if you go on YouTube also, Sally, who's Agarwal, whose wife, she describes how her life transformed. When Prabhupada was staying there, and it was such a wonderful thing. He was so personal. He was so nice to talk to. and he would sometimes cook for everyone also, right? So she started describing like that. So we understand that Prabhupada, just because they were eating meat, did not hate them, right? He was not attached to them. He was neither had hate for them. He was genuinely trying to help, right? And he preached to them also. And then he went away from that place, started preaching in other places, went to New York, right? So we understand that we don't need to cultivate hate. If we are not, if we disagree with something, we don't need to hate them. Hate the sin, not the sinner, right? Christ said, hate the sin, not the sinner.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
So okay. Did we finish this?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Manu is going to renounce it because he does not. Okay. Such a renouncer dedicated to transcendental loving service of the Lord is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his constitutional position in relationship with Kṛṣṇa. He knows fully well that Kṛṣṇa is the whole and he's part and parcel of Kṛṣṇa. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. The concept of oneness with Kṛṣṇa is incorrect. We are not equal to Kṛṣṇa because parts cannot be equal to whole. Knowledge that one is one in quality is yet different in quantity is the correct transcendental knowledge. So we are equal in quality. We are also Satchidanand. Kṛṣṇa is also Satchidanand. But we are different in quantity. That is the correct understanding. That we are tiny, Kṛṣṇa is Vibhu. Right? So, and leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire or lament over. So when one understands this, when one understands he is part and parcel, he is related to Kṛṣṇa, he is supposed to serve Kṛṣṇa, and that becomes his focus, right? So that leads him to become full in himself. He doesn't need external things to be happy. And having nothing to aspire to or lament over, right? He's indifferent. There's no duality in his mind because whatever he does for Kṛṣṇa. Being thus freed from the platform of dualities, he is liberated even in this material world. So this is the duality, right? Hating and being too much attached. So being free from duality, one is indifferent because he is focused on serving the Lord. Okay, Prabhuji, any points to add?
No.
Anyone, any questions or doubts so far? Okay, we'll do one more sloka. Let's see. Sāṅkhya yoga pratak bala
Sāṅkhya yoga pratagbala
pravadantina pandita
vadantina pandita
ekamapi astita samyag
samapyastata samyag
ubhayor vindate phalam.
ubayorvindate phalam.
Can someone read the translation, please?
I'll read, Prabhu.
Yes.
Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, is being different from analytical study of material world, Sāṅkhya. Those who actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both.
So Kṛṣṇa has described Sāṅkhya yoga, right? He touched upon Sāṅkhya yoga in the second chapter as well, right? Analytical study that one is not, this body, but comes to a conclusion that he is not this body, but the soul. So Kṛṣṇa is describing only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from analytical study of material world, Sāṅkhya. Those who actually learn say he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieve the results of both. Let's see what Prabhupada describes. The aim of analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence, right? So, which means that in the analytical study, there are 24 elements. There are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, 5 sense objects. Then there is mind, intelligence, and ego, right? And there is the overall material existence, or what you call pradhan, and there is the soul and the super soul. Like that, there is description of 24 different elements, sometimes 25 and 26 also is described, right? The Paramatma is also included, which is not material, of course, but 24 material elements are described. So material science has the understanding of only 5 or 10, right? At the best 10, because they are dealing with the physical stuff. They are dealing, sometimes they kind of delve into the area of psychology a little bit, which also deals with the mind. So at best, 11 items of the 24 items. But Sāṅkhya Yoga is understanding and study of the entire 24 elements or 24 items, which kind of which makes up this entire existence. And, which then coming to a conclusion, one who understands and studies that analytically comes to a conclusion of, how there is soul, there is super soul, how this entire creation is run by, the super soul, for example, like that. So that is the aim of this analytical study. So devotional service is also, devotional service is a superset, which includes an analytical study also, right? It's a superset which includes all the subsets. It includes karma yoga, it includes jnana yoga, it includes, ashtanga yoga, like that. All these different yogas or different understandings about the Supreme is included in devotional service. So they are not different in one sense. In that sense, they are not different. And one who's learned, who applies himself well, knows that either of the path will give at the end of the day will give the same result. Of course, devotional service is the fastest way in one sense. So devotional service to the Lord entails service to the super soul. The aim is the same, right? To find the soul of existence. The soul of this material world is Vishnu or super soul. Devotional service to the Lord entails service to the supreme super soul. One process is to find the root of the tree, and other is to water the root. So Sāṅkhya is trying to understand and find the root of the tree, and devotional service is watering that root, finding it and watering, right? So the real student of Sāṅkhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then in perfect knowledge engages himself in the service of the Lord. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two, because the aim is both is Vishnu. Those who do not know the ultimate end say that the purpose of Sāṅkhya and Karma Yoga are not the same. But one who is learned knows that unifying aim is in these different processes. So they both have a unified aim. Okay, let's do the last sloka for today. Any doubts on the previous one? Okay.
I have a doubt, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I am doing my karma and I'm remembering Krishna always while doing my work. But again, I'm not doing the bhakti part of it. Like I'm not chanting every day or something like that. Then is it a proper way of you said Sāṅkhya yoga and karma yoga are the same. So does it make sense?
Yes. So why do we chant? Anyone? Why do we chant? Or what is the result of chanting?
It purifies the heart.
Okay, what else?
Chanting regularly will take you to the path of Krishna consciousness. Slowly it will take you to that path.
Okay. Anything else? So there is Shravanam, there is Kirtanam. Kirtanam, chanting falls under the process of Kirtanam. Shravanam, Kirtanam. Shravanam means hearing. Hearing and glorifying the Lord, right? Kirtanam leads to Smaranam. Right? So we are constantly trying to chant the holy names of the Lord because we want to consciously remember the Lord as much as possible. Right? And mind is very, very tricky. For some time you may think, oh, you're remembering the Lord and doing your work. The mind is so tricky, right? You may think of Krishna for 2 minutes. You may sing a kirtan while performing your work. And after those 2 minutes, the mind switches to something else. And after 3 hours, or maybe after the entire day, again, it might switch back for a few minutes to, again, some kirtan or some thought about the Lord, right? And what you feel, or you might have slept in between also. And then again, you woke up and again, in between somewhere that thought of Krishna came. What the mind makes you feel is that, oh, I have been thinking of the Lord the entire day. And we meet people, when we preach, we meet people like this. We say, अरे मेरे प्रभु जी मेरे अंदर तो पूरा 24 घंटा नाम चलता रहता है, भगवान का नाम लेते रहते हैं 24 घंटा. Right? The real test is when they actually sit and chant. Then they know how much they are in water. Because 10 minutes and they are like tired. Let me do something else. Or 15 minutes, that's it. Nahi hoga. Right? So the mind is like that. The mind needs to be trained. The mind needs to be tamed. Right? And therefore, we have to consciously practice Krishna consciousness. Just thinking that, oh, I am thinking of the Lord the full day. Your mind is cheating you. Simple. You might be spending 5 minutes in the entire day or 10 minutes in the entire day to actively think about the Lord, but it will make you think that, oh, I've been thinking throughout the day. So to depend on the mind for doing devotional service like this, not possible, right? Unless and until you have conquered the mind and the mind has become your friend. So there are several stages, right? Adav Shraddha, right? Initial faith. Tatha Sadhu Sang, you associate with devotees. Bhajan Kriya starts by association. You hear and Bhajan Kriya starts. You start performing active devotional service like chanting, reading, coming to classes, right? Cooking for the Lord, practically serving the Lord in different ways, serving devotees of the Lord. That is Bhajan Kriya. With all of that, what happens is anartha nivritti, like somebody said, it cleanses the heart. When the heart is completely cleansed, or almost all the dirt in the heart is gone, that is when you're established in nishtha, the next stage, firm faith, right? Completely determined to serve the Lord, nishtha, right? And then comes ruchi. When you cross the stage of nishtha, right, the mind, it is, like I explained earlier also, it's an uphill task. You're taking this boulder and you're pushing uphill to the peak. Up till nishtha, it is that, right? Anartha nivritti and previous stages like uphill task. After nishtha, ruchi, when ruchi is a stage where the mind becomes your friend, where the mind wants to, do activities in Krishna consciousness. That is a downhill task. Now, at the peak, you just touch the stone and it goes on rolling down. You don't have to push. It all automatically through gravity rolls down. So the mind gravitates towards Krishna in this stage, right? And you cannot, sometimes you may feel that, oh, even my mind is gravitating towards Krishna, right? That is nothing but Krishna giving you some glimpses. Hota na, माल बेचने के पहले थोड़ा टेस्ट कराते हैं, right? So Krishna is giving you that small sample to taste, right? When you perform a little bit devotional service in the beginning, Krishna gives you some taste. This is what it is like, right? Now work hard and get the entire thing. So sometimes you may feel that taste. Sometimes you may feel so attracted, the mind absorbed in the Lord, right? That is some taste Krishna gives in the beginning. But we should also understand that we are not at the stage of bhava or prema or nishtha or ruchi or asakti, right? Initially, even I felt, oh, am I in nishtha or am I in bhava or am I in prema? I used to wonder. Now I realize, bhajan kriya ठीक से नहीं हो रहा है. The first two stages, sadhu sang ठीक से नहीं हो रहा है, right? खाली आदव श्रद्धा है, बस first stage is okay. उसके आगे sadhu sang is not happening nicely, bhajan kriya is not happening nicely, right? So anartha nivritti to chhod diya hai. Right? So, but originally, in the beginning, I used to seriously wonder, is this asakti, is this bhav, or is this prem? So we may initially feel like that, I can understand, but is the mind playing tricks on you also? So one should understand that, I need to really work, not just depend on my mind. Right? So till the time all the misgivings in the heart are not gone, one has to put endeavor to practically perform devotional service like chanting, reading, etc. And karma yoga is also fine when and when we do all of this, actively perform devotional service, the result is, even while doing work, we'll be able to remember the Lord. Right? And not just remember, you'll be able to offer the work to the Lord, the results of the work to the Lord, like that. So then it becomes karma yoga, nishkam karma yoga also. Right? You're not specifically super attached to the results, but you want Kṛṣṇa to enjoy the results and then partake whatever as prasad, as his mercy. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Rosie, you want to add something?
Perfect.
Okay, so I think 5.5 we'll do next time. Anyone has any other questions, thoughts or doubts, or any reflections, anything they like from the class which they take back, right? Anything that stuck with you?
Prabhuji, you very well said that sometimes we feel in which mode we are, in bhakti mode or in pray. I also felt like that. And I thought that when I was in my teenage or when I was a child, I was in a prema mode like that. But I don't know, that was ignorance or something. And now because we are very practical and materialistic, I don't feel that bhav anymore.
Yeah. When we are young, we are simple-hearted. That simplicity, that innocence also gets lost over a period of time. But yes, nonetheless, we should also understand that even then, by mercy of Kṛṣṇa, we had glimpses of being attached to the Lord some way or the other. Right? That's Kṛṣṇa's mercy. He allows us to have some taste, or he reminds us. If we are continuing from previous life, he reminds us, hey, you're not meant for doing other things, come back, get connected to devotees quickly, like that. Yes. Any other thoughts or reflections? Anyone? Nobody liked anything?
Prabhuji, I liked one thing.
Yes.
Actually, nothing belongs to you.
Yeah.
So no need of
Say
proprietorship.
that only. I was also going to say, I think you said it as Yukta Vairagya, right?
Yes. So Yukta Vairagya is understanding that nothing belongs to me, it belongs to Kṛṣṇa, and using everything in Kṛṣṇa's service.
Utilize in his service, yeah.
And not that you don't enjoy, then you enjoy. When you use in Kṛṣṇa's service, Kṛṣṇa makes sure you also get it. Right? So you're satisfied. You're more satisfied rather. Okay. Anyone else? Anything? Any reflections or any questions?
So Prabhuji, that means both these route will take us to the goal, right? Sāṅkhya and
Yes, one. If you only rely on Sāṅkhya, that's like climbing stairs of a 100-floor building. Whereas acting in Krishna consciousness is instant. It's a lift, super fast lift that takes you up. So ultimate end of both these things are the same. Right? Because even in Sāṅkhya, what happens is one tries to understand what is the root of this entire material existence, the super soul. And when one gets to that understanding, he has a choice. He can, live with that knowledge and, do some, still continue doing some yoga or some pranayama, something else, right? Or he has a choice. Oh, now I understand that it's a super soul, right? Who's the root of everything. What should I do? Right? I should serve him. So Sāṅkhya will lead to you sambandha gyan, or at least understanding what is the root cause, or maybe an understanding that yes, I am part and parcel of Kṛṣṇa, right? Then how to act in that acting in that knowledge is Kṛṣṇa consciousness, because that is devotional service. Now you begin to serve. Right? Yes, Balamukunda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
The process of spiritual progress has to be gradual. So everybody, like you mentioned, has to learn and find their own path. And we have done, all of us, we have been through various processes, depending on where we got associated with, sometimes by accident, sometimes by choice. But we got associated with people, and then our paths changed from time to time. Sometimes it was meditation, sometimes it was chanting, sometimes it was just scriptural studies, whatever. But all these are adding up from time to time. And as long as we are making and continuing with the practices, whichever come in our way, I think that should be adding to the value, basically.
Yes. So all these different paths, if they are done with a understanding that yes, I want to go back to Godhead, I want to surrender to the Lord, they will lead you there. But the only point which even Kṛṣṇa is making and Arjuna is asking, please tell me which is more beneficial, renunciation of work or acting in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Please tell me decisively what is more beneficial. Kṛṣṇa is telling him, acting in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is the highest. So while we may have experiences of different paths, or even later chapters, 6th chapter, Kṛṣṇa will describe Ashtanga Yoga, for example, right? So Arjuna is saying about this is not practical for me. And in the end, Kṛṣṇa says, Yoginam api sarvesham madhyaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate mam samyukta tamamata. In my opinion, one who always abides in me, offers obeisances to me, or worships me in his heart, always remembers me, right? He's the topmost yogi in devotion, right? So acting in devotion is the highest perfection. That's what we are trying to understand and study from these chapters, right? So while we may have, Sāṅkhya philosophy, like just mentioned, right? Later on, again, Kṛṣṇa will touch upon the Sāṅkhya as well. Even in the 2nd chapter, he touches upon Sāṅkhya again. So, like I said, Sāṅkhya is understanding, the root cause of material existence. It will lead you to that point that, oh, super soul is the root cause of everything. Should I just sit on that information or should I do something about it? If one understands that, the root cause of the entire existence is super soul, and I am part and parcel, right? Then what should one do? One should serve. And that active service is devotional service, which Kṛṣṇa is talking about. Action in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Is that okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I think we stop here and we'll get on to reciting the 3rd chapter today.